Hi everyone, I'm Yo and this is Virginia. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, knowing, caring, and loving your lady parts. And you know, it's not just about lady parts, by the way, men. So stay tuned because today I have a video about pooping. Yeah, did you know that there's a proper way to poop? And it's really, really important because you want to avoid things hanging out of your vagina or your anus, men and ladies. So stay tuned and let's get started. Forget to hit that subscribe button and like and share to help support our channel, and turn on your notifications because I put on a video every Wednesday to inform you about all this fun stuff. So let's get started and talk about pooping or defecating and how to do it properly. So why am I doing this video? Well, as usual, I see a lot of stuff in the clinic and you want to avoid a rectocele, which is a prolapse of your rectum. There are other prolapses, as I mentioned in my other videos, and see the link above. But what happens is if you put too much pressure down your rectum, that this can potentially happen. So this is the anus and the butthole, and this is the rectum. So the rectum is the last part of your small intestine, and then it comes out, and then there's the anal canal. And what can happen is if there's too much pressure, and there's other reasons also that can cause a rectocele, is that your rectum unfortunately can slowly protrude out. And also for ladies, what can happen is that the rectum actually comes out through the posterior wall of the vagina, and here actually poor little Virginia is a little bit open here, and what can happen, it can bulge out of the back of your vagina. All this fun stuff. So this video is going to quickly go over the proper techniques in terms of defecating or pooping to minimize pressure down in that butt area. So a little bit about that rectocele, the prolapse of the rectum that you don't want to get. And I see a lot of people who have them and they don't even realize it. When it becomes symptomatic is when you have problems going to the bathroom, or of course you see something hanging out of your rectum, which is really bad. And as I mentioned before, you can get a prolapse of your rectum where things hang out at the back of your vagina if you look at yourself, which is important in female anatomy too, if you want to have a look at that video. If you visualize that this little slinky is your rectum, okay, the tube, and normally the tube is solid like this. There's no give to it. So what happens when you have a little bit of a rectocele, which is a prolapse of your rectum, it gets stretched, okay? So there's a little bit of a give like this. It's not a slinky, but you know what I mean, right? So what happens is when you go to the bathroom, and this is my red piece of poop here, okay? Normally what happens is if it's solid here, okay, the poop just glides through, no problem, and comes through the rectum like this, right? Down the anal canal, down the rectum and the anal canal. But what happens is when you have a little bit of a stretch of your rectum, well, see what happens is the poop actually gets stuck there. And if I take my finger, basically what happens if this is the rectum and the anal canal there, it gets kind of stuck there. So you feel like you're wiping and there's still something stuck there. And of course, if that stretch gets bigger, then you have problems defecating, and also things start bulging out and protruding, which is a later stage of prolapse, which isn't great. So toilet 101. How do you poop properly? Okay, so the big thing is that you don't want to strain. Okay, you don't want to be doing okay, where you're trying to get one of those big poops out. You don't want to be holding your breath and doing that, because right, avoid the straining with your mouth closed, because what that can do, it's like pushing down on the rectum. Think of your balloon, okay, pushing down, because you want to avoid a rectocele, which is a prolapse of your rectum, things hanging out, your intestine hanging out or protruding into your vagina. So you want to avoid this. And when you're straining, what you're doing is visualize this is your rectum and your anus here. You're going you're putting pressure on that, so you want to avoid that. Okay, so proper evacuation techniques is really, really important. The other thing you want to avoid is you want to avoid knees lower than your hips, okay? Because you want basically your angle to be directed back a bit. So you want your knees over your hips, and this is convenient because I have a little squatty potty. The other thing is you don't want to be hanging back reading a book, okay? With your knees down, of course, because again, your pressure is shooting forward. Right? And sometimes what happens with women is that the rectum actually stretches and it does come through the posterior part of the vagina. So you want to have your feet up. If you don't have a stool, put your toes up and your knees are over your hips. And then you could gently lean forward, put your hands on your thighs, and instead of grunting and going, what you could do is think of blow to go, very gently putting pressure down, okay, or moo, moo, or grr, or some people go, Okay, so you are getting a little pressure and distending a little bit here, but you're not creating that intra-abdominal pressure where it's closed. Okay, so lean forward and go, or move, and let everything relax. Remember that muscle has to relax to let things facilitate and come out really nicely. The other thing that stretches your rectum, okay, that will stretch it is constipation. So you want to keep things as loose and mobile as possible. So what happens when you're constipated is, and visualize the rectum, normally remember it's nice and solid, okay? Just like my finger, nice and solid here, okay? So if it's stretched and you're consistently and chronically constipated, well, you're stretching the rectum more and more and more, okay? And what's happening is, again, your rectocele or your prolapse or your rectum is stretching more and more and more, and that can make things worse. When you have a rectocele, again, you might have problems wiping. What you might feel is that things get stuck in there, remember? And here would be your stool, and it's being stuck here, and it's not able to come out because it's getting caught in that stretched area of the rectum. So what's happening is your stool here is getting caught in the stretched area of the rectum, and sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to get it to come out. Okay, and then of course, if your rectocele gets bigger, then that becomes more of an issue, and there may be some problems defecating, and there might be pressure down there, and other symptoms, of course, that you may have to push things in because they're protruding out of your vagina, or anally, also rectally for men and women. So the big things with respect to constipation is, and if you look at this diagram above, which is the Bristol stool diagram that explains what is a normal stool. So normally your stool should be a nice soft, kind of like a snake shape, S-shaped stool. So nothing like hard little balls or really lumpy, and of course not too liquidy. So that would be the normal stool that you want to achieve. So what you want to do with respect to constipation is keep moving, a healthy lifestyle, of course, lots of fluids, keep moving because that helps the mobility of the feces, which is really important, the mobility, things traveling down the intestine. You want to be making sure that you are taking in enough water and of course fiber. The only thing is, the trick with fiber, I'm not a dietitian, but just from what I know with my clients, is if you don't take enough water, your fiber's not going to work to get things moving. So make sure that you're having enough water intake and taking your fibers. So fibers that are really great are bran buds, are really good, high in fiber. There's also flaxseed oil, chia seeds, and also ingesting vegetables. Apparently if you cook vegetables, they'll cause less bloating, but vegetables are really good. And also prune juice, of course, in terms of a liquid. And psyllium also works to get things moving, that I've heard from clients also. And with respect to getting things moving in the intestinal area, what you can try to do is an intestinal massage. So with respect to the intestinal massage, you want things to be mobile. So with respect to your stool, you want things to move and travel, but you also want things to be the right consistency. So start on the right, as you're traveling up the large intestine, and you're doing this right, come across and go down, and this is where the small part of your intestine and your rectum, and follow that direction. So don't go left to right because you're going the opposite way. So go right and then across and down. And sometimes parents use this for their kids, the I love you with respect to gas. So it's I, L, U. Okay, and sometimes you might actually walk in that direction and you might actually feel little pockets of maybe gas. Okay, so try, you can use your forearm to encourage things to move a little bit. This is just a quick tip. And Virginia and I want to thank you so much for joining us today on this video about pooping and learning how to evacuate properly so you can prevent a rectocele, which is a prolapse of your rectum, and just keeping everything moving well. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video to help support our channel. And please comment below if you have any videos that you want us to upload, as this channel is for you. And please spread the word about women and men's health. And we look so forward to seeing you guys again soon.